Welcome to another episode of Full Circle with me, Onyx. And let's continue our conversations with magic. Uh, are you comfortable with everything being a lie? With everything being made up? A dream? Maybe even a hallucination? Uh, so let's kind of go to the roots of magic. And I would like to imagine a myth of possibility where, we were all fed this story that, cavemen, Neanderthals, we look at like primitive man and we see that they maybe lived in caves or trees. Who knows? Okay, or maybe started in, who knows the origin story. And this is kind of the power of the magical book. This is the power of myth. We of origin. Why do humans not really know their origin? So we very quickly move from a place of false comfort called truth, false comfort called facts, history, and we're faced with a question: where where did things begin? Where do things end? How far along are we? You know, how long have humans actually been on planet Earth? And with new discovery, with the freedom of globalization, technology, new ways to measure. Because science, you can basically truly call science the art of measuring. If mathematics is the language of science, math is measurement. So you're always engaging in science when you're measuring. That could be the dimension, that could be, the volume, that could be time itself. So we quickly move into measurement. Uh, but we're looking at history, we're looking at origin, and the reality is we don't know. And we will never know. So our past has a huge question mark. Our future has a huge question mark. We are, in a weird way, surrounded in mystery. And for the magician, for the sorceress, I dare say a sorceress, sorcerers, uh, instead of being afraid of a mystery, instead of filling in the blank of the mystery, that question mark, we're okay with leaving it as a question mark. And could this question mark then become a magnifying glass, a detective lens to sleuth out uh, things that are definitely untrue? You know, lies, deception, fabrications, delusion, versus that very fine line of illusion, uh, mystique, uh, the mind, uh, like a flexible reality, liquid, psychedelic reality, uh, going into this fuzzy space, this limbo, is kind of like straddling the veil. It's moving into the crossroads. So, one practitioner of magic said a magician uh, is in between worlds. They they are like the guardian of the crossroads. And so going into limbo, going into the numinous, uh, realm. Some people do that through ritual, trance, hallucinogenics. You don't have to go very far to start moving to your personal edge, your personal boundary. So, boundaries are measurements. We define things. So, we quickly get into shapes, we quickly get into geometry, we quickly get into mathematics, and we quickly get into language. We are expressing, we are defining a border. We're going from no definition to definition. So, shape and form. And we find these exact same things in art with the basic principles of art. We have dimension, we have repetition, we have shape, we have form, we have light, we have shadow, we have pattern, we have rhythm, and we have these basic principles of art, these basic principles of design, and they parallel how we navigate things scientifically, how tall, how short. And so we live in a world of no definition, and we define things. We say this is, that is not. So we're always playing with this, especially when it comes to like mental magic, psychological brain change, and we start dealing with perception. And so you could literally say there is a realm of magic that's more perceptual, based on your perception, based on your point of view, and how you alter that, your ability to perceive into realms. So someone could be very dialed in to a realm and have a very keen perception, and they would be very good, let's say, at understanding robotic languages, computer languages, programming. Others might be really good dialed in to empathy with animals. And so we see aligning with frequency, with that realm, that influence, the ability to choose to even do that, to say, yeah, I would like to read the minds of animals. You had to have that desire, you had to choose it, and then how you go about your alignment is kind of the ritual process. So understanding that should really help you understand your method, your process of alignment to your specific end goal, to what you're trying to manifest, for what your spell working. So that's, yeah, you can take a meaningful pause right there. So magic and ritual are kind of in everything. End chapter. Now let's kind of move back to the beginning of these caveman drawings, these first pictograms, these first hieroglyphs, these first sigils. So symbols are loaded with meaning, personal meaning. You have your personal set of symbols that only mean something to you. Then you have a collective set of symbols, a standard set of symbols that work for your time period, your generation, your culture. So we have like the English alphabet, and we have a the numbers 1 through 10, which get their origins from our mathematics, come from Babylon and they come from Arabia, and that standard system of mathematics. You could literally say those are the magical symbols, and working and manipulating them formulate, give you answers and results. Mathematical symbols and the language of math, the formulas and the equations, you get certain results within the realm of math. So then, what would be the symbols, maybe say, for working with elemental spirits? Beings of the natural world, of the elemental world, of fire, water, earth, and air. What would be the language of deceased humans? What would be the language of angels? What would be the language of gods and goddesses? One thing that is constant is you being an active participant, you on some level believing you understand what you're doing confidently, like you, in a weird way, there's no magic without belief. So the placebo experiment, the sugar pill, we tell the patient, that it's something else and it has these and these benefits. The placebo effect, depending upon the patient's believability, the way it was impressed upon them with the doctor in a white coat, with the atmosphere all set up, the ritual space, the person was told these pills are going to help with depression, and get back to us, we're going to pay you, so there's an incentive, we're going to pay you a little bit of money. Come to find out, the people with the placebo had better recovery rates than the people with the actual medication. Same thing happens. Once again, here comes the patient. They had to wait a certain amount of time in the waiting room, build up that anticipation, the worry, let their mind get crazy, kind of like get altered. Then they go see the doctor, and they're in the doctor's office. There's the certificates of graduation on the walls. He's dressed in his white suit, and he tells you, in his best educated guess, with all the information given, you have 2 weeks to live. The patient dies in 2 weeks. Come to find out, it was the wrong patient. Same effect, the psychological sense of believability. You could say confidence in what you are told, confidence in the myth, confidence in the placebo. Understanding this, using this effect against yourself, for yourself, against others, for others, you can become very good at psychological manipulation, which is a form of magic, hypnosis, mesmerism, group think, group agreement, so group madness. So let's look at what we as a culture promote. Women in wearing black, dancing around the full moon at certain phases. Is this the facts? Is this the placebo? If it's facts, it may work. If it's science, it might work. If it's fiction, it might work. So it all works. And then you could say magic just works. So everyone has their own, I call it, rule book of life. And in your rule book of life, you construct literally the rules. You determine if gravity is real. You determine if blue is blue. You determine uh, so many things within yourself. And you already have, in a weird way, it's just like a computer program. A computer program has a base program, the DOS, the operating system, and then you can build other programs on top of it. You are inherited a program. This so you were inherited a rule book of life. And it's like those journals with prompts, you know. Each chapter of the journal has suggestions for you to write on and then leaves you like 5 pages for you to fill in the blanks. It could be a daily journal, monthly. And so it's kind of leading you places, but then gives you freedom. So that's what your very first rule book of life looks like. And in this rule book of life for Magick, what has been safe to promote has been ritual magic, and it looks like a circle, and it looks like 4 directions, it looks like a candle, it looks like a pentagram, it looks like a hexagram. And you were given angels' names, the 7 mighty angels, and you were given the Greek gods, and you were given the Egyptian gods. You're given the ideas of gods, and then you're given the ideas of the 3 worlds, and then psychology used the 3 worlds: subconscious, conscious, and super consciousness. And do you see how much of all this information you're given? Where did it come from? You know? And whatever you accept goes into your rule book of life, goes into I call it the book of the law, as a shout out to Aleister Crowley. But I also call it the book of the law because we go about life, and according to our rule book, we have a punishment system in there. Because the gods are punishing, and the gods are scary, and karma is real. And so we have likes and dislikes, and according to that, and then we have our own ethical and moral standard, and then according to that, we decide if we are offended and we need to take action and punish someone, right or wrong, become a valiant crusader of justice. Unknowingly, we're abusing other people, and they're going, why is that person sending bad energy? Why are they crazy? Okay? So Magick parallels psychology. Magick parallels science. Magick parallels art. It's paralleling these things, but it's very possible it's not those things. And this is where I think we get into trouble. And this is where we come into limits of understanding of magic itself. Magic can be its own thing, its own current, its own river. But maybe with the tools that we have, art, science, psychology, we then can send a signal, get more in alignment, influence the magical current, participate in the co-creation of an experience, alter things, bend things according to our will. This could be the art of magic. So when I was graduating from the Western Mystery School, and I made it through all 3 levels, and we were standing around with all of our classmates, our teacher takes us to the cliff. And the cliff drops off into a giant lake. And the giant lake, well, let's just say it was a very interesting day. And she had us throw our magical tool, our favorite magical tool, into the water and give it back. And she basically tells you Everything is a dream. And then that was the end of our ceremony. That was the end of our journey. And you're like, wait a minute. It was all a dream, you know? It was like all made up. It was all fiction. We spent 3 or 4 years or even 5 years going through this process of becoming official Western Mystery School initiates and witches and wizards, and we paid all this money and we went all to these classes and we learned and we explored and we opened up our psychic abilities and we went through your channeling class, and now you're telling us it's all a dream. Yes, she could say it was all an illusion. And in a weird way, she's accurate. Another way of putting it is all creation. It was all creative, my students. What level do you understand? She could have said it was all a lie. She could have been really harsh and said, there were no angels, there is no magic, it was all a lie. And she's pointing at the same truth, that we co-create a reality through agreement. She's pointing at the placebo effect. She's pointing at the license to create, to be genius, to pull something out of the void of nothing that's loaded with potential and pull a white rabbit out of the hat. The beginning and the end is the great void, is the great nothing, is the great question mark, is the empty that is full. You know? And so she was pointing at a big teaching, and depending upon your level of understanding is how you process that. Another way of looking at that situation is you are the magic. It was all you, which seems to be very like Eastern esoteric. And we could use that in psychology and say, mirror, mirror on the wall, I blame you. You know, it's all your fault. A harsh way of telling the same truth is, yeah, everything, all your judgments, all your beliefs, that's all you. You're experiencing you. And does this hold true for magic? I would say to a degree. I would say magic itself is an untamable, unknowable thing. The closest we get to it, to understanding it, is actually doing it. This is where books will fail you. This is where all the knowledge and information on magic will lead you to a huge door with a question mark on it. The only way to get into the mysteries of magic, the only way to understand it, is to do it. Just like swimming, just like your favorite sport. You have to experience, it. So, and this is where you could say you move out of the book of shadows into the book of light. So through metaphors, analogy, symbols, archetypes, we come to a beautiful, eloquent poetry that brings you to the edge of a deep experience and has the aroma, has the essence of that experience. And you're like, I believe my teacher, Onyx, knows what he's talking about. I believe I can do it. I believe I'm a wizard. I believe this sigil does summons Raphael, and this incense. So when there's an authentic aroma of experience, there's a strong potency of mesmerism, hypnotism, placebo, truth. But then you make that quantum leap. Drugs not required, rituals not required, trance not required, but you cross that same bridge. Is that faith? Is that belief? It's something else, but we call it faith. We call it belief. It's strong conviction. It's your truth. Then you do the magical operation and you learn. Try summonings the four quarters. Try summoning one of the quarters with sincerity. Use a symbol that you believe in and it will work. Now use a symbol completely made up with no logic, no reason. But so let's say I'm going to use a square for the east. There's no real rhyme or reason. I just picked that shape. But the intention I want is real, which is summoning the powers of the east. Did that work just as well as the correct symbol for the east and the correct calling of angels, the powers, and whatnot? Find out for yourself. In the doing of the summoning, you gain the experience. In the doing of act, so slow down your jam, slow down your roll, okay? And when you slow down your magical art, you will then gain a new level of understanding for the process of magic. Things will be revealed to you. So someone commented on their love of making sigils and symbols and all that. And I quickly remembered this one time when I was playing with a sigil and I was like led deep inside. It was like a room within a room within a room. I was led deeply in, and then I was led deeply out of that room, out of that room, out of that room, and then back into this reality. I was completely sucked in like 3 layers deep, and then moved 3 layers out. And it was such a mind-altering experience. I was like, that's really powerful. So I think timing, rhythm, intention really just kind of naturally aligned. And when I did that sigil working, I learned how powerful it truly is. That it was more than just drawing a image on a piece of paper to do whatever intention I was doing. It was more than the intention. It was more than what I was creating. I was like on a multi-dimensional roller coaster ride is what it felt like. And I was like, how do I explain that? So that's what magic is like for me. It's like 5 sensory roller coaster ride. It's crazy. It's mind twisting and mind bending, but I also feel it physically. And I also feel it through my astral body. It's very liquidous and twisty and strange. It's like I'm on some type of psychedelic trip and no drugs involved. No. So I learned through the experience so much about sigils. One sigil I drew for one serious intent, and I could feel a whole book. And yet, what I wrote about it and what I said about it comes pretty close to the experience. It has the aroma. It's intriguing enough. It points you in the right direction. But then you have to cross that door and just do it. And so I was like, that was pretty potent. And so the recovery time of coming back to normal reality, coming back to this dimension, could have taken me maybe 10 years to come back from that one 15-minute drawing. So things can get very strange, permanently strange. Meditation, yoga, magic can mess up someone's life. So usually I would say go slow, be grateful of your ignorance, be grateful these little roadblocks, this time it takes you to become, next level wizard or witch or sorcerer, whatever you'd like to call yourself, co-creator of the universe. It's giving you time to process your experience, because when the training wheels come off and you're not prepared, you're going to wreck. So I would dare say, people get ruined with drugs, people get ruined with magic, people get ruined with fiction. So the whole point of this is, in a really weird way, we don't know what we're working with, but we're going to work with it anyways. And I would say have fun with it. It's an art. Don't take it too serious. And just, I would say, be careful with it. Because you're going to learn. I originally wanted to say, before I sat down and just started speaking, I was like, oh, I'm going to talk about meditation and telling you my favorite ritual is just going on a walk. My other favorite ritual is just my routine of getting tea in the morning, sitting down, and letting thoughts come to me. So having something very normalizing, very basic, like making tea, going for a walk, brushing your teeth at a certain time, whatever it is, cleaning the bathtub, these type of grounding rituals can help solidify you in this dimension and can help you process your magical lifestyle, help you recover. So you're balancing both worlds, the magical universe and the mundane. You're giving yourself a foundation, you're creating a really solid anchor for yourself to be functional